Hello everyone, it is Toby again from Toby's Urban Sketch, bringing you another 10-minute challenge. And just as a reminder, the idea of these is not to capture a perfect image, but it's to have fun and see what we can do in 10 minutes, and perhaps add little touches after that or something like that. Today we've got this image up here, which I took on the hottest day of the year, so lots of sunlight and lots of shadows. And I'm going to start actually with a pencil. And I'll start the timer and let's see how we get on. So I'm just going to start by capturing some of these distant shapes unusually for me, because there's lots of interesting shadow going on there. We only have the 10 minutes, so the pencil sketch is going to have to be really abrupt, really quick, really basic, but that should free us up A, lots of time for a bit more colour, and B, it will just free us up creatively as well. So just getting in these really big ideas of where the shapes are. The idea that I'm going to work with today is quick pencil, quick colour, and quick bit of ink, maybe with some water on top of that. We've got these sort of funny little shapes everywhere in this scene, and I think these will actually work quite well in a quick sketch, because it's fairly easy to just capture those scenes which are filled with these shapes, even though they might look quite complicated. I'm going to turn this man into some triangles as well. We'll see about getting in these tables going on the right. And then I think we definitely need to get the idea of this pub coming towards us. This big window as well. And there we go. A really quick sketch, but it sort of captures the main features of everything which is going on. So let's move on to our colours. So as normal, I'm going to use just a big brush. This is a bit of A4 cold press paper, stupidly given the challenge. I've not filled my water pot, but there we go. Now I have. And let's just start top down. A little bit of water just to get us moving, with a nice blue sky. And as with all of these 10-minute challenges, and there's lots of them on my channel now if you want to sort of check them out, it's all about connecting things, loose colours which just bring everything together. So we'll get that blue mixing into these trees, and the sort of yellowy greens can come down onto this road as well, and they can really highlight the heat, the warmth that I'm sure we were all feeling yesterday. Now when I add the pen, that's going to provide the dark colours, so we don't need to worry too much about dark. But I am going to put some of these shadows in. So just mixing up a little bit of quinacridone sienna, a little bit of Perlin violet, and that's going to be our sort of dark shadows which are coming in here. Going to try and paint around a little chap here and bring up some of these shadows into this building, as well as, just since we've got the shadow on our brush, let's pop it in under here. And where else can we add a little bit of tone and interest? So we've got this building here. Start linking this blue in. And just while things are drying elsewhere, start adding in some texture. And 10 minutes is really not a long time, so you've got to be quite specific about what you're perhaps trying to achieve with each dot of colour. So one thing I'm sort of not going to do is try and get the idea of textures in these walls. I'm going to leave these bright walls as white. And then perhaps see if at the end we want to change that or not, but to start with, certainly just going to leave them as nice white spaces. Here, just get the idea of these windows. We can kind of half draw them with our brush, just leaving a little bit of that light coming through. I'm kind of just quickly using a bit of neutral tint here to get that idea. And again, this wall, just let's get the edge of this wall, the base of the building in, by contrasting this grey neutral tint with these warmer colours. And just to complete our colours for now, I'm going to just get this man in outline a little bit more, and then trying to get some sort of just clear water in here to get these lovely cauliflowers. Maybe a couple of drops of darker tones just to start outlining some lovely areas. Okay, now given this is a 10-minute challenge and I want to add ink, I am going to have to cheat and use my hairdryer, so apologies while I just mute everything. So I guess there's a good question here is why not always use a hairdryer? Well, the reason is it sort of flattens things, it pushes the water around and it blends things, so it's much nicer to let it dry naturally if you've got the time. What I'm going to do now is come in with a bit of brown ink. This isn't waterproof ink, this is ink which will run, if I have time, to add a bit of water at the end. And it runs into this lovely warm, sort of almost pink colour. What I might do, again if I have time, is combine a couple of inks. And how are we doing? So we're on about 5 or 6 minutes. So just enough time to really loosely outline some of these window details. And we can actually, I said I won't be adding bricks and things, but we can add a few just ideas of bricks, especially to get this idea of different textures at the top and bottom of the building. And there's this lovely, I suppose you call it a mural on the wall, which I'm not going to be able, in this time, not going to be able to sort of fix into this scene, but we can at least show with our colours and textures that there's something different going on back there. But for now it's all about these loose, almost continuous line drawings. Trying to capture the idea of windows and a few of these sort of brick shapes. And now let's move over to our man. So I've left him a void, but we can get a bit more detail into him now that we are back with our pen. We can get shadows suggesting a face, suggesting shadows under the belt, under the arm. And let's just see what happens if we outline some of these tables coming forward. They probably won't look like tables, but they'll suggest something busy off to the right hand side, which is kind of enough. How are we doing? We're on about 8 minutes, so doing all right actually. I feel like I've caught up despite all of that action with the hairdryer. So there's some lovely windows in the background which we can just try and get. And then we've got this sign up here. A few funny details like a satellite dish. All these plants which I suggested with the green. But let's just give them a little extra suggestion if you like. There's textures in the background like these metalwork and these trees. Okay, so I think I've got just enough time to apply a little bit of black ink as well. And this will just hopefully, when I add some water in a second, provide us a little bit of difference in tone, variation in tone. And in watercolour, variation is of course what we're most often after. Okay, and let's just see what that looks like if we move around with a little bit of water. So a fairly dry brush here, because what I just want to do is activate this ink, pull it in where there's shadows. So you sort of got shadows coming down here. The windows are definitely sort of zones of shadow. We've got textures and things we can pull out with the ink as well. Just keep that brush moving a little bit, get it watery enough. And we can just, again, activate. Do you see how that brown ink becomes this lovely pink colour? It just adds a little bit more interest and tone. We can add some of our own shadows in a couple of places, even though they're not really there. Shadows under these objects, just again pins them in space. And that's probably, or give or take, that is my time up, isn't it? So there we go. That is our 10-minute challenge. Ink, watercolour with a little pencil sketch initially. As ever, let's let this dry and see if there's anything we can enhance just with a couple of extra minutes. There we are, dried again with our hairdryer. So now let's try a little bit of extra colour and see what we can achieve. So where are the things we want to really bring out, make punchy? I would suggest for me these windows. So I'll get a little bit of the same Perylene violet I was using. I'm just going to bring out some extra contrast in these places. The image is very light, but things only look light in watercolour if there's dark near to it. So we need to get the ideas of both light by leaving the page bright and dark by adding lots of tone to achieve an overall light look. So I'm just using different mixes of the Perylene, add a little bit of indigo at times, and moving them around and enhancing some of these deepest shadows. With the ink on, of course, having to be a little bit careful because the ink will also move and continue to sort of wash around a little bit. We can sort of add some extra tone there. And then the big obvious bit of tone we probably want to add is in this shadow area which is coming across. So let's bring that over and let's give our man a little shadow as well, because then he exists as well as a 3D object in this space. And we can simulate these same shadows coming across from other places. So where we've got structures which would provide a shadow going that way, going over here, with the light source coming down, like this, we can start just adding in a few of those. I've left a little bits of sort of light to suggest something busy going on here, rather than just a flat shadow. And I'm definitely inventing some shadows on this house, which kind of changes the perspective of them, but I think for me at least that works fine, works well. It's a bit of fun just to experiment. And let's just bring out these trees with a bit more tone in places. Don't want to cover everything up. And then we can link those greens with those shadows to just get a more continuous image going across. And I think that's probably enough, isn't it? Not going to add any more pen. Maybe a couple of little splashes. A couple of blue splashes in the sky. Fits with the loose aesthetic that I'm going for with these kind of quick sketches. And there we go. That is my really quick 10-minute and a little bit sketch. This is a street in St Neots, just coming out of a place appropriately called the Art Cafe. I'll dry it off and then you can see what it looks like with a the sort of finished colours all dried. And there we go, it's not totally dry, but it's pretty much there, so you get a good idea of the scene we've created. 10 minutes, lots of contrast, little bits of fun detail, using that ink and a few bits of randomness. And I quite like it actually, so I hope you've enjoyed watching that. The reference, as ever, is in the description on my Pinterest. And it's been great having you along. Feel free to subscribe and like if you enjoy my videos.